Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm Coach Mike, and welcome to this episode of the MindFit Method podcast. So today, we're going to talk about a really cool hack because as parents, as teachers, as coaches, we are so busy, we're so distracted that when we have our own goals that we're trying to accomplish outside of all the things that we're trying to do to set children up for future success, sometimes it gets really, really difficult to reach our own goals. And today I want to talk about a hack that you can use to fail in your efforts every single day to reach your goal and yet actually reach your goal. So check this out.
So the giant question is this: how do we as parents, teachers, school administrators, policymakers, coaches, how do we prepare our kids for a future that doesn't yet exist? All while making them healthier, more creative, more innovative, better problem solvers, and overall successful contributors to society. That is the question, and this podcast has the answers. My name is Coach Mike, and welcome to the MindFit Method podcast.
All right, so it kind of sounds like a play on words, right? How do you fail every single day yet succeed in reaching your goals? But it's actually not, and it's using a stacked approach called habit stacking, or actually triple habit stacking to be specific, that actually can help you get there. So let's talk for a minute about reasons why we don't hit our goals, whether it's at work and we're trying to hit sales goals. Are you doing what you need to do every day to reach your sales goal? If it's fitness and exercise, are you doing what you need to do every day to reach your goal? If it's losing weight, are you doing what you need to do every day to reach your goal? The key in all of those last couple of statements is, are you doing what you need to do every day, right? And that is consistency. Everything falls on consistency. The problem that we run into with consistency is that as adults, just like kids, we are consistently attracted to shiny objects, right? Shiny objects are just everywhere. So we start an exercise program and all of a sudden we hear about the exercise program that somebody else is doing. And the first thing we do is we're like, oh, well, maybe that sounds better than the one that I'm doing. So I should go do that one and not this one. But then you don't know how to start doing that one because you don't have the information about it. So you just kind of let everything flounder and it all falls apart because you were attracted to a shiny object instead of staying consistent to what you did. Even if that new exercise program was double as good as the one that you were doing, since you never started it, it wasn't any good. And if you had just remained consistent, because consistency is always king, if you had just remained consistent on the first program, in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, you would have seen results and you would have been happy with that. But those damn shiny objects always are there and they're always distracting us. The question then is, how do you stay consistent when you generally don't? Right? It's kind of blunt, but if you can't consistently do what you need to do every day because you consistently don't, right? You consistently don't do that. How do you then set yourself up so that you can still win, knowing that you consistently are not going to do the things that you need to do? And I'm going to tell you what the key is right now. There's two of them. The first is you cannot rely on motivation. And this is for anything. If you want to, increase the amount of money that you have in your savings account, and you know that if you save $50 a paycheck, at the end of the year, it's $50 times 26 paychecks, and boom, that's what you're going to have in your account for the year. But you constantly have to weigh out those short-term wants and those long-term goals, because the short-term wants will constantly derail you away from your long-term goals. And I'll give you an example. You're trying to lose weight and all of a sudden, that donut looks really, really good. So what is it? Do you want to lose weight down the road, or do you want the donut right now, right? Because at that moment, the donut, unfortunately, is a shiny object. It's actually the sticky, sweet object, but it's the shiny object. So you have to think, nope, long-term. I have to think long-term. Everything I do has to go that way. And you can't rely on motivation. Motivation is kind of like the biggest facade in the world, right? Motivation can get you to take step one, but it does not guarantee that you're going to take step 2, 3, 4, 5, or anything beyond that. It's just, it's this feeling that you get to be like, oh, I'm going to do this. This is so exciting. And then time and time again, motivation has failed you. Don't rely on motivation. Rely on discipline and consistency. That will always win. Avoid those shiny objects and stay consistent and stay doing what you need to do. Stay disciplined on a regular basis. But there's a way to do this. And I'm going to use, obviously, MindFit in the MindFit world is all about using exercise to enhance neurological function, but it's also overall just about, utilizing exercise for overall health, for, to impact your life in so many positive ways on a daily basis. So the key then is if I'm going to set one thing, right? So if I'm going to make a decision and say, I need to work out every day. Okay. And that's, you're hell-bent, you're motivated, right? There's that bad word. You're motivated. This is what I'm going to do. What happens the first day that you miss that workout, right? Oh, my motivation's gone. My program is dead. Everything stinks. It's just how we think, right? So the key to this is it's kind of like playing darts, because we're always trying to hit the bullseye when you play darts, right? But what if you could win just by hitting the dartboard and not by hitting the bullseye? And you can, right? Because if someone hits a bullseye, one bullseye and two number ones on a dartboard, but you hit 320s, you win, right? So don't try to hit the bullseye every time. And what I mean by that is don't choose one habit or one thing that you are going to do to help you reach your goal. So let's use the exercise one for a moment. If you say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym every day, or I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. Number one, create a goal that you can do consistently daily. Because again, consistency is king, right? So instead of saying that and knowing that there are going to be days you don't get to the gym, there's going to be days you don't want to go to the gym, there's going to be days that there's traffic or the kids are sick or whatever it is where you're not going to get there, switch up your mindset for a minute and let's do something else. Let's triple habit stack. What I mean by that is you have to choose 3 things that will lead you towards your goal, will get you to your goal that you are not doing right now. So let's use the example of you want to live a healthier lifestyle and try to lose weight. So your 3 things that you're going to do are, number 1, you're going to try to walk 10,000 steps a day. Number 2, you're going to make sure that you do not eat anything after 7 p.m. And number 3, you're going to make sure that you don't drink anything except water all day long. All right. Now, let's say Monday comes, it's your first day, you're all excited, and boom, you hit all 3. Okay. You hit the 10,000 steps. You didn't eat after 7 p.m. And when you did have something to drink all throughout the day in order to stay hydrated, all you had was water. Boom, you nailed it. And then day 2, all of a sudden you get your 10,000 steps. You didn't drink anything but water all day long, but here comes the hurdle, right? All of a sudden you didn't even get home from work until 7:30 p.m. or the kids had practice. You didn't get home till 8 o'clock. And now one of those things is dead and you cannot check off one of those boxes. Okay, fine. But, and this is a really big but, if you only did the other 2 things consistently all year long, do you think you'd be closer to reaching your goal? The answer is absolutely yes. So you missed one, but you nailed the other 2. And that's why habit stacking is so important. Choose 3 things. And if you want to get even further to your goals, choose 4, but you can do it with 3. Choose 3 things that are going to have an impact. And the reason I chose those 3 is, number 1, exercise and activity level, I've talked about this before, are 2 very different things. But since we're not necessarily talking about just using exercise to enhance neurological function, as the MindFit method does, right now we're just talking about using exercise to be healthier and to try to lose weight. So if you hit those 10,000 steps a day, maybe you didn't have time to get to the gym. If you wanted to make it the 4 habits, then you could add a workout, 10,000 steps, only drink water, and not going to eat anything until after 7 p.m. Then you have 4, but let's stick with the 3. Okay. So you did those things, you got your 10,000 steps, you didn't drink any water, but boom, or I'm sorry, you didn't drink anything but water, but boom, you wound up eating dinner at 9 o'clock at night. Okay, fine. But you still did the other two things. And tomorrow, your goal is to make sure you at least get 2. You're a shot, you're always shooting for 3. But look, I hate these memes that are out there that are like, no one works harder than me. No one does this. No one does that. Guys, I saw one the other day that actually said, people that have a plan B are losers. Okay, that's actually not true. People that have a plan B are smart because they know that life will throw you curveballs that you have no idea are coming at you. So you better have a plan B for things. But it doesn't mean you rely on the plan B. It means you just have the plan B. So in this case, plan A is you hit 3 out of 3 or you hit 4 out of 4 to be able to hit your goal. But if you're doing 3, right, and you only get 2, those 2 are still going to get you further to your goal than if you just had one thing that you were going to do on a regular basis that you consistently did not achieve. And here's the other reason why it's really important. Because if you have one thing, like if you go on a diet, right, you go on a diet, which I hate that word, but you go on a diet and boom, you have a bad day. In your mind, you think your diet is screwed. Well, if you have 3 things or 4 that you are trying to accomplish on a regular basis and you only hit 2 of them, or in a worst case scenario, you only hit 1, you're still making progress towards your goal. You're not completely taking a step backwards. You're just slowing down the steps forward. And it's so important. We get so hung up on ourselves that everything has to be perfect or it's not going to work right. Just like I said before, we have those people that, but this person's doing that exercise program, or they're taking this supplement, or they're on this type of nutrition plan. Be consistent. Look, if you know what you're doing is consistently bad, right? Because, I remember way back in the day, when I first got out of college, I was a personal trainer, and I couldn't believe how many times I'd have someone come in and say, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds. Fine, no problem. We can do that. And I got to do it in 2 weeks. Okay. How long did it take you to gain the 20 pounds? And why do you think that it's going to be anything less to take off the 20 pounds? And it is going to be less, but it's not going to happen overnight. But it's because, again, people are so focused on one thing. Spread out where you're throwing those darts because you're going to miss sometimes. But if you're throwing 3 darts, even if you only hit the board twice, forget hitting the bullseye. You just have to hit the board twice out of those 3, and then you're going to make that progress that you want to make. And we can use this tactic with our kids as well. So if our kids are fighting to get better grades in school, right? If you think about, there's usually 4 areas that kids are graded on, and there's not always weighted. They're not weighted necessarily the same, but what do you have, right? You have homework done, you have class participation, you have tests, and you have quizzes, right? So if you have a child that really doesn't test very good, then they're going to need to work with their teacher and be able to say, okay, I know I've got to get my homework done. I got to participate in class, and I need to do the best I possibly can on my quizzes, because those big, long tests, I lose my mental stamina, and I just don't do well on those tests. So I really got to rock the other things. And while the weighting of those things may not necessarily be exactly, in your favor, if you're hitting 3 out of the 4, you're still going to get a better grade than if you're only trying to study for that one test. You don't do your homework, you don't participate in class, and then boom, all of a sudden you don't do well on that test. It's the same situation. You've got to spread out your wins. Right? You have to be able to look at multiple different things that you can do to be able to positively affect the situation that you're in. Because remember, instead of just saying, today was a complete failure, which means tomorrow is going to be a complete failure. Instead, what you're saying is, well, today wasn't perfect, but I got 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 4 things that I needed to do or that I wanted to do. So tomorrow I want to make sure that I do that other thing that I did not do today and get at least 1 more or maybe all 3. That way you feel like you're constantly balancing out what you're doing. So take this for a minute. Right now, if you only work, let's say if you only walk on average 5,000 steps a day, right? 5,000 steps a day times 7 days for the week, you're walking 35,000 steps a week. So if you think about that for a minute and you say, okay, I want to do 10,000 steps a day. That means I'm going to hit 70,000 steps a week. Okay, fantastic. But let's say if you don't, right? If you only hit the 10,000 steps that you're trying to achieve 3 out of the 7 days, but you still hit the 5,000 steps in the other days, instead of doing 35,000 steps for the week, you did 50,000 steps for the week. And 50 is still better than 35, which means it's leading you closer to your goal. So you've just got to think about that dartboard. Don't always plan to hit the bullseye. You are going to fail. And I don't mean to be rude, but you are going to have days where you're going to fail. And don't set yourself up for just constantly failing without any progress. Know that you are going to fail at times. And look, if you can hit 7 days in a week and you hit all 3 of your habit stacked goals, then fantastic. And then the next week, maybe it isn't going to be like that. Maybe you get 1 day, 2 4 days, 3 a couple other days, whatever it is. But you're moving that progress forward. And like I said, you can always add one later on. So if you want to add a 4th habit and you're trying to hit 3 out of 4 or whatever it is, don't rely on everything you're doing on one thing. And honestly, take a calendar, put 3 boxes in each spot on each day of the calendar, write what those things are, and check them off. That way you can go back and you can actually see your own feedback as to, oh, wow, this is what I actually did this week. This is what I did this month. And then try to beat it the next month if you can. It gives you that feedback. People don't realize the power of like a training log to be able to see their progress over time. Even when we're looking in a mirror, right? I see people all the time that, used to come to BodyFit Elite, and when they would work out, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't see any change happening in me at all. Yet, one day they walk in the gym and everyone's like, oh my gosh, you look fantastic. Well, that person was looking at themselves every day in the mirror. They weren't seeing the changes. They might start to notice that their jeans are getting a little looser, or things start to fit them a little bit different, but they weren't seeing the changes. So when you can go back and say, okay, I had 3 goals that I wanted to hit every day. And out of a 30-day month, 20 of them I hit 3 every day, 2 of them I only hit 1 every day, and 8 of them I hit 2 every day. That is huge progress. Even if you have a day, even if you have a week where you hit none of them, right? Life got in the way, or maybe you went on vacation and you just were like, you know what, screw this. I'm going to go enjoy myself and have a good time. You still see all the progress you made all the other times during the week. We tend to focus when we start to get in a rut, we focus on the fact that we're in the rut. We don't focus on the fact of getting back out of the rut onto the street to be able to start moving faster again. But when you can look back and say, wow, I'm not in as deep as a rut as I thought I was, and it's only a simple step for me to get right back onto the street, you're going to go further. Hey everyone, you may notice that I don't put any ads inside of my podcast because really I'm just trying to share the message about the powerful effect that the MindFit method has for parents, teachers, and of course, our kids. But I do have one ask. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend, share it on your social media, because it will really help us spread the word about the powerful effects and the amazing results of the MindFit method. Thanks everybody. Until next time.